Update. My own friend convinced my husband that I cheated on him. He kicked me out of our house, and now she finally said she lied. Original post. I, 25 female, don't even know where to start because I'm devastated. She, 25 female, and I were best friends for over 10 years before all this happened. She was my sister, my friend, the person I trusted the most. But to her, I was never anything. Because if I had meant something to her, she wouldn't have stabbed me in the back just because I married a man she wanted. And this is important because she did all this for that very reason. 8 years ago, we met my husband, 29 male, at college. We were in our first year, and he was the assistant of one of our professors. The three of us became very good friends until he and I started dating. At that time, she never told me that she had feelings for him, so I never questioned my relationship with him. During all these years, I trusted her with very important things about my husband and myself. The last thing was the most important thing that I ever told her, and that was that I'm pregnant. I even told her before I told my husband, because I took the pregnancy test while I was with her because I trusted her with my whole life. And when the test came back positive, we both cried because it was a planned baby. She seemed so happy that my chest hurts knowing that all of that was fake. 6 months have passed since that day and my husband started acting weird. He was always mad at me for absolutely no reason, until I had enough and confronted him. He told me he's mad at me because he knows the truth. I asked him what he was talking about, and he showed me all the infidelity evidence he has. They were chats from a dating app between a man and me, and I use quotes because I never created that account. Someone else did and used my photos that I never posted and that I only have on my phone. So it is impossible that someone has stolen them from my social media. In those chats, I told this man that I was pregnant and that I didn't know if it was his or my husband's. In those chats, I even talked to that man about recent intimate encounters while I was pregnant, and things like that no husband or wife wants to read about their partner. I told my husband that everything was fake, and that I wanted to know where he got those screenshots. And he told me that they are screenshots of my old phone, a phone that I supposedly used to talk to other men. He told me that my best friend told him everything because she couldn't look him in the eye knowing the truth. Apparently, she knew about my infidelities and told him to look for evidence on my old phone, and he did. And that's why he was acting weird the last few weeks. Of course, I told him that my friend is lying, and that she probably used my phone without me knowing to do that I never created any account, and that I never slept with another man other than him in my whole life. But he didn't believe me. We had a fight, and we called her to confront her, but all she said was that she was sorry, but that she no longer wanted to keep lying to one friend to save the other's butt. We had a horrible fight, but she was calm as a freaking psycho, insisting that I'm a cheater. And I couldn't convince my husband that it's all a lie because the evidence indicates that I'm guilty. So he was furious and told me to pack my stuff and get out, and that he wanted a divorce and a paternity test. I went to my mother's house and we did a paternity test, which obviously indicates that the baby's his. But still, he didn't believe me that I didn't cheat on him. We had a few more fights after we did a paternity test, and I ended up in the hospital because of the stress. And apparently that made my so-called friend see reason, because she told my husband that everything he saw was fake, and that it was she who made both accounts, mine and that of the man I was supposedly cheating on him with. She said that she did it because she was jealous because since I'm pregnant, he doesn't pay attention to her anymore. She is very good friends with both of us since we met him, and that she lost her mind and acted in the worst way possible. She also said that now she's really sorry, that she never thought all this would go this far, and that she thought he'd just get mad for a few days and then forgive me because she knew that he loves me too much to forgive me anything. Since she confessed all that, he apologized in 1,000 ways, and we've talked a lot about what happened. And we have decided to give ourselves the space we need, and we will start going to therapy, but I don't know if that will be enough. Our relationship is at its worst. It's screwed up, and I'm afraid we can't work this out. And how could we? We said and did horrible things. During a fight, he told me to pack my stuff. I refused, and he took me by the arm to do it. And he was hurting me, so I pushed him and he hit a piece of furniture. And that's when he took me by the arms again. But this time he did it to shake me. But he is much stronger than me. Not only am I skinny compared to him, but he is also really tall. And when he did that, he really hurt me. And I don't know if we can be who we were in the past again. In the past, we almost never fought, and if we did, there was never any violence involved. How can we fix this, other than therapy? Now for the top advice. What a freaking psycho! This is a lot. The damage she inflicted over petty jealousy. How do you do something so deplorable to a person, let alone your best friends? People you claim to love, all while putting your friend's health and the health of her unborn child at risk. Just wow. This subthread never really shocks me, but this shocked me to the core. The evidence was so compelling from the husband's perspective, which makes it so sad. OP, if you're reading this, I hope both you and your husband give therapy a real shot. Don't let that witch win by jumping to divorce. It's so sad because it sounds like you had a healthy marriage before. I just hope that this is another hurdle you overcome and one that brings you closer in the end. And what about your husband and the ex-friend? Has he cut her out? And did she attempt anything with him while you were kicked out? Because if he's still talking to her in any capacity, that would be done for me. Yes, he blocked her from everywhere, and as far as I know, she never tried anything with him. Jesus, your friend is a psychopath. She didn't think it would go that far. The truth is, she wasn't ever that good a friend to either of you. Because if she was, she would have accepted that he is with you and moved on. Given the circumstances, I would think therapy is a must. I can't see how else you two would ever come back from this without a neutral party involved. And now for the update. Thank you all for the messages you sent me and the comments you left on my first post. I really appreciated it. Things have gotten a lot better since then. We talked to my now ex-friend, and she admitted to using my old phone to create that fake profile and also to message the other man. And I used quotes because that man never existed. It was her. She used that phone when she came to my house every day since we had a business together. She knew where the phone was, and she also knew that no one ever used it, so she had everything perfectly planned out, which is scary, because she really needs help. I mean, with all this, it is more than clear that she's a psychopath and needs help. She said all the things she did, and she had even told my husband that she drove me to meet that man so many times. And she told him that I made her pay with her card for the hotel where I met that man. And the truth is that I was never in any of those hotels. But all of that was right there, and it looked real, so of course he believed her. She has been my friend for many years, but she has also been friends with him for over 8 years. So we trusted her, and we never thought she would do something like that. And when she started telling me all those lies, it sounded real. In fact, the messages and everything looked very real. And I understand why my husband believed it. And if it had been the other way around, maybe he would have believed it too. On the other hand, my husband and I are still trying to cope with all this. After that violent episode, things got really hard between us. It is not easy to save a marriage once violence is involved, but we're trying. I came back home, and for now things are fine. But sometimes it's really warm here and I wear t-shirts, and he doesn't even want to look at me because I still have the bruises from his hands on my arms. And they don't look too bad now, but they're still there after almost 2 months of that episode. And I'm guessing they'll take a while to go away since I'm a very pale person and my skin is very sensitive. But my arms don't hurt anymore or anything like that, so I don't mind the bruises. He has apologized for what he did, and I forgave him because it was something that affected us both. And I understand that we both got violent and we're both guilty for screwing up our relationship. But like I said, we're still trying to get over it. And I guess it will take a while to get over it. It won't be easy, but we are willing to work hard so that everything will get better by the time our baby arrives in a few weeks. That's why we started individual and couples therapy, so we hope everything gets better. Now we are focused on that. We're preparing her room and buying things for her. And for now, that's working. Our relationship is slowly getting back to how it was before. And I'm really happy about that because we've loved each other for 8 years. And the last thing I wanted was to throw away our relationship after all that time. Because I know how our relationship was, and I know that this was the first time that we both reacted like this. And we promised each other that it will never happen again, and we will do everything possible so that it does not happen again. So that's all. To put your relationship to the side, if you're still covered in bruises after almost 2 months, You really need to go see a doctor. That slow healing could be indicative of some larger health problem. If you're having some issues with, say, blood clotting, you want to have the doctors figure that out now, instead of while you were giving birth. Usually bruises clear up in a matter of 1 to 2 weeks. If you're still black and blue after around 8 weeks, that is something your doctor needs to know about ASAP. It doesn't really matter that you're pale. It also doesn't matter however embarrassed you might be when the doctors ask you what happened, and you have to confess your husband hurting you. What matters there is your body isn't able to adequately clear the hematoma after an excessive amount of time. That's important medical information right there. Take it to your doctor as soon as you possibly can. Because despite all the miracles of modern medicine, plenty of people still bleed out and die during childbirth. If your body isn't handling bleeding in a normal fashion, including bruises, that is very important for your doctors to be on top of. Talk to a lawyer. She can be held accountable for a lot of that, and you can get a little bit of justice out of it for her screwing your life up. Not sure if this applies where you live, but in many places this is harassment and defamation. I would even wonder about financial damages / effect of the distribution of business assets. Glad you're doing all the therapy. I hope you dissolve the business partnership too. I will. I'm talking to my lawyer about it. Now for the last story. Update. My 28 female boyfriend, 30 male, keeps hanging out with a girl he has feelings for. Original post. He said he's been trying to get over her since before me, and that he thinks that if he keeps trying, it'll go away. I told him it doesn't work like that, especially if we've already been dating 10 years, and he was already trying to drop his feelings for her before he met me. I feel like he's lying, and he truly just wants to keep his connection to her. He left to go hang out with her at 9 and it's now almost 4 in the morning for me. He told me it wouldn't come to this, and he wouldn't be out this long. He doesn't have a phone, so if I want to message him, I basically have to message her. He also refused to let me come along, even though her and I get along amazingly. She's made it clear she's not interested and already has a girlfriend. I've started packing my things because he hypothetically asked me what would happen if he didn't come home tonight, before he went out. I don't feel that there's anything left for me here. I made it clear that I don't think what he's doing is good for our relationship, but he went anyway. All he can ever say is that it's not his intention to hurt me. I keep having to remind him that the intent doesn't matter if he knew the outcome would be hurting me. I need some help, support, and an exit plan. Now for the top advice before reading the update. He still thinks he has a chance with her, but is stringing you along as a backup. If the second she actually wants to go out with him, he will flat out dump you on the spot. You're better leaving because this isn't a healthy relationship. This is exactly what I've been thinking about. It's all based on her. If she moves, he will, regardless of what we've built together. Yes, you have no future with him because he doesn't want you. Sort to say. Until he can get his head out of his behind and realize she doesn't want him, he can't have healthy relationships. I mentioned that to him as well, that this will continuously be a cycle unless he chooses to break it himself. All he cares about is staying close to her, even if it means they can only be friends. Well, back to packing. I really wish you well. In this instance, it was all on him. He ruined the relationship, not you. You deserve better and I hope you find it. Maybe someday. Thank you. And now for the update. I went to sleep and woke up to him cuddling me, which was very upsetting, especially after the night I've had. He came home around 5 a.m., a time he told me was only hypothetical and wouldn't really happen. We had a talk where I made it very clear that if this is how he loves me, then it's not the love I want anymore. He didn't want to tell me anything at all and just kept saying, I don't know, to every question I asked him. But if the situation were swept, he would need every detail. Matter of fact, I wouldn't have even been able to go. I packed the bulk of my belongings and have hidden them in easy-to-grab places. I've got 4 days left in my college course before I take my certification exam. I'm very glad he stayed out all night, because I've never felt this much love for myself since before meeting him. He knocked me down so many pegs that I forgot how much I was actually worth. and was willing taking scraps of love. This isn't even the worst that he's done, and we should have been over a long time ago. Hate that I'm just fully realizing it now, but I'm glad I did it all. It hurts, but not as bad as staying as someone's second choice. He probably won't even remember the conversation as he never does, but I'm done explaining it over and over again. The plan is to stick it out until the end of the week, take my certification exam, pack up all my stuff, and leave in the middle of the night. My sister lives in another city and already has a place for me to stay. Luckily, my mother is in town as well and plans on staying until I'm ready. I'm letting him keep his gifts, because once I'm gone, he won't have internet until he gets it himself. It's getting turned off and moved to where I'm going. I will also be taking his cell phone off my contract. I really didn't understand how much I paid for his life until I started disconnecting and removing everything a piece at a time. I just did it because I love him and wanted him to be taken care of. The time I spent gone last night was everything I needed to get my life together. He knows the best ways to guilt trip me, especially after going to counseling. I'm not going to keep doing this fight, and I'm the only one actually making progress. I have held him up and backed him up on so many things in life. I never expected to get to this point. Thank you to everyone who helped talk things out with me. I was so distraught that I couldn't even think or move. Definitely made it easier to keep pushing on. Everything is packed but my little library and PC setup. I don't even think he noticed when he came back, but I'm sure he'll be asleep all day, doing a once-over and finishing packing. My mother will be back later to pick up a few things at a time under the premise of just wanting to see her daughter. Mom is with a plan, and I'm loving it. For those of you who believe that we could have worked things out, we could have, but that takes the both of us being willing to do that. Not just me. This isn't even everything, my guys. I know it may feel like an attack on men to you, but if I told you everything, you wouldn't feel that way. Trust me, I want it to work out too. But he has made it very clear that he would drop me if it meant keeping her, even just as a friend. If for any reason she told him they can't be friends because of me, I would be a hot potato, dropped on the floor, guts everywhere. Joke, but you get the picture. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. I feel like I'm finally about to get everything that I've ever wanted and needed, and I hope you do too. My brother-in-law is the reason why my husband left me. I don't know what to do now. Original post. I, female 38, met my brother-in-law, male 38, at uni. He asked me out in our first year, and I refused. He called me the C-word and that I'm shallow. My best friend told me that it was harmless comments from a drunken guy who got rejected. I never thought myself shallow. It was his demeanor and awkwardness that was off-putting to me. Anyway, he proved my friend right. And other than these comments, I've never felt uncomfortable during my uni years because he never bothered me again. Not even looked my way. Next time I met him was when my baby's sister, female 28, introduced him as her boyfriend. I didn't even recognize him at first because it was like 9 to 10 years since that day he talked to me. He was visibly annoyed that I didn't recognize him and called me a liar. The family was skeptical at first about him, but he seemed to treat my sister right and she seemed happy. He is very rich, taking her all over the world, and he seemed kind with it too. They got married after a year of dating and they have 3 children now. I met my now ex-male 45 years ago, and the only odd comment from my brother-in-law was that I was still as shallow and superficial as I was in uni. At the time, I took it as a joke, but in hindsight, when I found out the truth and started thinking back looking for red flags, this was probably a big one. He never showed any signs that he disliked my husband, and he was always decent enough. And his indifference to have a close friendship with my husband and I didn't seem odd because he was always a recluse. A year ago, my husband came home and accused me of cheating, and he had evidence. The guy contacted him, and he had nudes and stuff of me on his phone. The guy told my husband that he didn't know at first that I was married, but as soon as he found out, he contacted my now ex. He even apologized to my husband. I have never met this guy in my life, but nothing I said or did made my husband believe me. He left me, and our divorce is pending. Then yesterday, the guy contacted me. He apologized for what he did and told me that he is friends with my brother-in-law. He sent me conversations. Endless conversations my brother-in-law had about me for years. He has never forgotten that I, in his words, didn't even give him a chance and only judged him by his looks. He called me the C-word in that chat. Both group chats with his friends, but mostly with this guy. They planned this attack, and my brother-in-law somehow got access to my photos. The reason this guy contacted me now is that he felt guilty, because even when my marriage is over, my brother-in-law was still angry and hateful. especially when he heard that I was on a date last weekend. So the friend felt that he didn't help his friend, but ruined innocent people's lives. Not sure what to do. My brother-in-law has actually been happier and more sociable than usual since my divorce, and now I know why. Although first I thought he felt sorry and wanted to support me. His jokes about me ending up an old maid with cats as companions don't sound like jokes anymore. He meant them. I don't want to ruin my sister's life. She's very happy with her husband. I'm not sure either if I can with her husband. I'm not sure if I should tell my ex or not. I am very heartbroken that he didn't believe me. Love him very much. He is the love of my life. But I'm not sure if I can forgive him for not believing me. But he is a victim in this too. So maybe he needs to know for closure. I am so terribly sad and hurt. I'm sorry this post got very long. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Why wouldn't you tell your sister her husband is bat crazy? And seems weirdly obsessed with Opie, to the point their marriage might be a weird revenge fantasy for him. OMG, that's entirely possible. I wonder how much Opie and her sister look alike. He definitely hates seeing Opie in a relationship. He wants her to be single and lonely, because every guy she accepts obviously must have something he lacks, since he got rejected. And that's a no-go in his books, so he's doing everything he can to make Opie feel miserable. So the very least she should do is going absolutely no contact with him, because it won't stop until the ending with only cats as companions. Yes, you should tell your sister her husband is crazy. Yes, you should clear your name with your ex, even if you don't want to go back to him. You should also go to the police over your pics he shared without consent. I will be honest, I'm terrified. It wouldn't shock me if this guy found your sister and is dating her just to remain close to you. Feels too coincidental that he somehow popped back up in your life and then got mad when you didn't remember him. I feel so too. It makes it even worse. Now for the first update. My soon-to-be ex-husband knows everything now. Apparently the guy who contacted me contacted my husband at the same time and confessed to him. My soon-to-be ex is coming to town this weekend and he wants to talk. Afterwards, I will probably need to look into taking legal actions, if that's possible, and tell my family. I think now that exposing him is the best and more safe approach, should anything more serious happen. At least people would be aware of who to blame. I want to at least make sure that my sister and her children are in safety before I tell them everything, like meeting them at my parents' house after I tell my parents. The pictures were real, and were probably stolen from my phone or my husband's, because he's the only one that I took the pictures for. I don't know if I can get any justice, since the pictures were not of my face. At least I was smart enough to not have my face shown in those photos. I don't know what will happen. When you talk to your sister, have your parents there for support. I will tell them first. Try getting a restraining order as well. Definitely need a restraining order. The dude is insane. So you're telling me that this guy has kept himself around you for 20 years and is still hung up on you rejecting him? It sounds like he's preyed on your sister to get close to you and will keep trying to ruin your life if you let him get away with this. You need to tell your sister what he did, and the guy he used needs to tell your ex what he did. Not to stir any pots or get your ex back, but so everyone knows what a psycho this guy is. If he's still trying to get back at you after decades of you simply rejecting him, he's never going to stop, and he's never going to let you be happy. Yes, he's been following me through uni years and even afterwards. He found my sister and managed to charm her. When they got married, I was single, and apparently he was telling his friends how he was glad I was old and single and miserable, not my experience of my single life. Then when I met my husband, he was angry because he didn't think I would find someone at my age, 33. Now when we were getting a divorce, he was very pleased again, saying I would definitely never find someone at 38, that I would regret turning him down. But I was on a date last weekend, so he spiraled down again and was angry and wrote horrible things about me, so his friend chose to come forward because he thought that my divorce wasn't enough for this guy. His words. Any update on this, Opie? I believe you said previously you were meeting with your ex Friday, correct? Hi, yes. I met with my husband and it didn't go well at all. We talked and he apologized and asked me to forgive him. He said that he never truly believed that I would cheat. The evidence was overwhelming, and he just thought that he believed me because he was blinded by his love for me. He then wanted to head over to my sister and her husband to confront him, but I asked him not to, until I'm comfortable that my sister is at least at my parents'. I wanted my parents to ask her to go visit them and we tell her then. That way, she's not with her husband when she finds out, and he finds out that he is exposed. This morning, I got many calls and texts from everyone because my husband went and did it anyway. And he had a huge fight with my brother-in-law. He denied everything, of course, so my husband blasted him on social media and made an apology for believing rumors about me. My sister was angry with me, and my parents were confused and shocked. I have talked to my parents and told them everything now and they believe me, but they agree that I should have given the chance to talk to my sister before all hell broke loose. Now she's not speaking to me because my husband tried to beat up her husband. Wow, your ex absolutely should not have done that and really screwed you over by doing so. You are the victim here, and he should not have done anything without your permission. I'm sorry it took an already messy situation and made it worse. He made it worse, yes. He has always been calm and collected and good in de-escalating bad situations. Never knew he would act so rash and make things worse. Second update. I really don't have much to add. My sister is very angry. She said that I have ruined her husband's reputation because my ex has blasted him and his friend everywhere. Now he is talking about wanting to end his life because I ruined it because of a joke he played. My parents have told her everything the day everything was exposed, and apparently she believed them and me at first. But now she has turned on me, so she's refusing to listen. I wish I could have a moment with her first before hell broke loose. If it was a joke, he would have revealed that when it was actively destroying your life. I mean, even if we completely ignore how not funny that would ever be, the fact that he let it rip your life apart shows his character. To be clear, I know you know it wasn't a joke. But if you do get a chance to talk to your sister, that's the response. We don't even need to ask if it matters whether or not it was a joke, because he was fine imploding your life over a joke. That speaks enough to his character. As for your sister, give her some time. She's surrounded by noise right now, and is probably feeling locked into a fight-or-flight reaction to try to save her marriage and her children. She has to process through it to the other side, and make peace with that, whatever the side ends up being. It wasn't a joke. It was a malicious lie to sabotage your marriage because of his ego. Send her the text messages and asks her if this is the type of joke she would want somebody to play on her. It's cruel, and it'll wreck her, but it has truths of her husband's cruel personality. And do you really want to cling onto a relationship with someone who accepts those types of action towards their loved ones? There needs to be legal consequences of this as well. How did your brother-in-law get the private photos? It's such a huge invasion of privacy. Maybe talk to a lawyer. You may also need a friend to talk to your ex, but I doubt that marriage is salvageable, and your sister may or may not want to know. That depends on your relationship. If she knows the truth, then it is her decision to leave him or cut you out. And if she cuts you out, then that's not someone you need in your life. Unfortunately, there will not be any legal consequences. The police seemed uninterested. How are things, OP? Getting back with the husband? I think he is seeing someone. He's already seeing someone even now that he knows the truth. If he truly loved you, he would call his new relationship off. Yeah, it is over. I don't think it was a serious relationship. I just heard rumors that he had a girlfriend but didn't know the details. So maybe I thought it was more serious than it was. Now he's moving back and I haven't heard that someone is moving with him, so I don't know. We talk on the phone every day, but I don't want to pry. Last story. My wife's cat ended our marriage. My wife, 33, female, has a cat. I, 34, male, like the cat, and I'm his primary caregiver. I feed him, clean his litter, take him to vet, but he's not my cat. He's also a little terror and wakes me up every single morning at 4 a.m. screaming for food. He doesn't stop. He continues for hours until I get up and feed him. My wife can sleep through it. I can't. And once I'm awake, I can't get back to sleep. So I average a max of 6 hours of sleep every night. I can't just get up, feed him, and then go back to bed because he has medical conditions requiring food at regular times. I'm slowly losing my sanity. I have an intense job and I'm always tired. I told my wife that he's driving me insane. I've suggested a vibrating collar for him to wear at night or talking to the vet. She doesn't see the issue and takes zero initiative to reach a compromise. So instead, I'm always exhausted and quite frankly starting to dislike her cat. She tells me that complaining doesn't do anything and I just need to ignore him. Today was very bad. It was my only day to sleep in, and my wife usually feeds him on that day. He woke me up at 4 and kept screaming until she woke up to her alarm at 6:30. She went to the bathroom and was sending me Instagram posts for 25 minutes while he was yelling outside the door at the top of his lungs. So I decided to get up as my morning was already ruined and I'd been awake since 4. She saw me getting dressed and asked what I was doing. I said I'm getting up. I'm already awake. I can't get back to sleep. And I'm tired of this. She called me dumb and said he wakes her up too, but that she pretends to be asleep and I can't tell. Now I know that's a lie, but okay. Not really sure how that changes that I'm miserable. My wife proceeded to get furious that I was getting up and complaining and told me I'm being a child. It escalated until she was screaming at me while I'm just looking at her bleary-eyed and loppy from lack of sleep. She said, "Do you even remember the things I said you have to work on for this marriage to continue?" I said, "No, I'm so tired, I don't remember anything." Stupid answer, I know. Well, she lost it and started yelling more. She basically said we should get a divorce because I don't make enough money, that I'm an angry person while she's screaming at me and I'm just taking it, and that she's tired of my nonsense and that I don't give her enough quality time. This coming from the person who did nothing for Valentine's Day, who got me ankle weights for Christmas. I'm still confused why she got them. Who ignored what I want to do for my birthday every single year. We have our issues, but I acknowledge them and work on myself. This is a one-way street though, and I'm the only one who ever seems to be at fault. I ask her to please leave if she's going to be mean to me, and that she's literally screaming at me while calling me an angry person. She told me to grow up, and that I'm clearly not working in our marriage. She stormed out and sent me several lovely texts that she's done, and in shock that I'm not working in our marriage. So it looks like telling her that I can't take the cat anymore is going to be the catalyst for end of our marriage. Yes, we have issues, but no more than your average couple, and she has a habit of escalating disagreements and screaming. Anytime I ask her to just talk to me, she gets even angrier and says, "Not everyone has to talk in quiet tones like a robot. I'll shout if I want." I'm currently at work on my day off, because I know if I'm home when she finishes work, that I'll get a lecture and screamed at some more. I'd rather be in my office than in my home waiting for her to yell at me. I also know that I feel an immense surge of relief on top of sadness that our relationship may be over. Yeah, divorce sucks, but I'd get to sleep again. And I feel immense guilt that I feel relieved. Our intimate life doesn't exist. She tells me not to talk to her about it. She doesn't seem to care about me beyond as roommate. She doesn't even know how I order my coffee after a decade together. I've read all her favorite books, so I can talk to her about them. She blatantly refuses to read mine. I was the only one working during COVID, paid for her university degree. I do all the housework and the shopping, but I'm not good enough. She won't change but expects me to. She criticizes me constantly to the point that I physically get tense when she sees me doing something and asks about it. Then yells at me for being defensive. I already know that when I get home, she'll make a huge show out of us breaking up. Instead of just saying we should get a divorce, there will be a lecture in my character, followed by a summation of my faults and ending with a declaration that she's suffered enough. She's done this a few times, and normally I'd apologize even if I'm not at fault, but this morning was the last straw. I'm done. I don't care anymore. I feel like I'm drowning and she's pushing me under while telling me she's trying to help. She can take everything, just please take the cat too. I'd rather start from scratch than wake up every day worried about what I'll say or do to set her off again. Edit: the cat can only have wet food due to his medical condition, as dry food can cause crystals in his bladder and infection due to the high level of carbohydrates. An automatic wet food feeder is just as much work as getting up to feed him at 6:30 when he's supposed to be fed, given that I would be the one cleaning the machine. Now for the top advice. Yes, we have issues, but no more than your average couple. None of what you've described is normal in a healthy and mutually loving relationship. Sounds like she seriously needs to work on herself, and you deserve better. Edit: also wanted to add that she also needs to take care of her cat, or she shouldn't have it. It sounds neglectful at best, and abusive at worst, considering the poor thing has health problems that require regularly scheduled feeding. Abusive to the husband for sure. Divorce will be a blessing for Opie. My first thought? Good riddance. The cat really did Opie a favor. Record her. There is absolutely no need for verbal abuse, which is what you're describing, and it needs to be documented. Furthermore, I would write down every single thing she hasn't done and how much you've paid. When she starts yelling, you hand her that and leave. Send divorce papers. That would not work. I tried that once when she punched me in the mouth. She was passive-aggressive for weeks until I got an apology for busting my lip almost a month later. Dude, leave. The cat isn't a problem. Your wife is. Update. Husband said he only dated me because I, female 28, was a dancer in high school, but didn't live up to expectations that he had. He also advocated to put our daughter in dance, and I don't feel comfortable anymore. Original story. I'm going to try and keep this as straight to the point as possible. My husband and I go back to our high school days, but we started dating around my final year of college. We were close in high school before college separated us a bit. He went away, I stayed local. But when he moved back, we slowly picked up and began to hang out again, and we hit it off pretty fast. He works in a firm, and I'm a clerk in an office. College was tough when my mom died of cancer in my sophomore year, But that's when he reached out and reminded me why he was my best friend. He flew out to see me and be there for the funeral, and even took me out numerous times to get me out of the home. That was the toughest time of my life, but also the thing that really drew us back together. He supported my career and was very supportive too, always going out of his way to give suggestions for moving up too, not to mention the many impromptu gifts too. However, I've been struggling with some of what he said recently during our 6th anniversary dinner, where he admitted that the reason he asked me out was because I was a gymnast/dancer in high school, but he also had a smirk while explaining it despite my surprise, honestly. He said that the funeral provided a chance to reach out, but when we were in high school, he would sometimes get off to gymnastics photos because of the outfits, and how it was like free adult material. And he also joked that that's the only reason guys want to watch, and it honestly hurts my feelings. When I asked him why he was telling me this, he said it was because he had a few kinks in mind, but that he couldn't bring himself to ever ask and didn't know if I had lost my flexibility either. And I honestly felt kinda degraded at the moment when he said that I didn't live up to what he thought in the beginning. However, the main reason why I've been bothered about it is because we have a daughter, 6, who's currently in dance and gymnastics. And after what he said, I've just felt uncomfortable since he advocated for it too. I questioned if I was overreacting, but the more I thought about it, I just kept feeling worse. Like, what if he still gets off to that? If that's how he views the sport as a whole, besides maybe having an ulterior motive to like me the entire time, I don't feel comfortable with him taking her there and watching. And I keep telling myself that I'm overreacting, but I also think that I'm just trying to wish my fears away. That's why I'm writing this, because I honestly feel scared, and this was so out of character for him. He's never suggested kinks before, I should add. It has always been encouraging and respectful to me too. Sure, he makes jokes, but this one made me uncomfortable, and my dad hasn't been close to me since my mom passed too. I just feel scared and lonely in my thoughts, and I just need some advice on what to do, or if I'm just not thinking clearly. Now for the top advice before reading the update. I'm really sorry, but he sounds gross. He reached out when you were dealing with your mom's death, which means he knew you would be in vulnerable state. And a bonus for him was that you were a gymnast/dancer, and that you would be flexible. And he thinks of gymnastics as free adult material, and had all these kinks in mind and was unsure about your flexibility level, and decides to tell you that it didn't live up to his expectations? Charming. And the main part that gives me the heaves is he recommended his daughter to be in gymnastics/dance when he views the sport the way he does. And that apparently it's totally acceptable to get off to that instead of actual adult videos. I want to know who told him getting off to gymnastics was more acceptable. That's just plain creepy in my opinion. I'm not sure how to address this honestly, because thinking about it makes me increasingly uncomfortable. You can start by telling him how terrible what he said sounds. I just know that he sounds gross and I would feel cautious. I find it hard to believe he doesn't see it's weird he calls gymnastics that way, and he advocated his daughter to do the same sport that he admits to having kinks with and getting off too. I'm sorry. I don't know how to address it either. And the second time I tried to, he got really defensive. Called me the bad guy among other things, and probably wouldn't be open to any kind of counseling together. And I don't even know how we would address that in counseling honestly. Main concern was how he refused to say that he didn't still watch it and told me to mind my own business, but I'm just concerned about our daughter right now. I don't want to sound negative, but with how he's acting would make me feel worse. He's trying to brush this off when it's concerning to you, and to tell you to mind your business when you're just trying to get clarification to make yourself feel better. And this whole situation has made you second guess his views on his daughter. Maybe you can try counseling on your own to try and find a way to address this? I want to on my own, since I don't really have too many people to talk to. I'm honestly nervous about bringing up the subject matter, but I know that I need to with someone. Wow. Your best friend has either changed or lied to you this entire time about his motives and what he saw in you. None of these are good. Let me ask you this bluntly. Do you want to wonder every time, a little thought in the back of your mind, that every time you see minors doing gymnastics and dance, that he will sexualize them? Is that how you want to spend the rest of your life? And your daughters? Your husband sounds creepy. I'm so sorry. It's really messed up though. And if I were you, I'd be in therapy. Couples or not, you need to talk this out with a professional. I really don't want to. But the second time that I tried to talk to him, he got really defensive, called me the bad guy, told me to mind my own business, and refused to say whether or not he was still watching it, then comparing it to my stance on adult stuff from the past when I told him that I was fine with its use, and using that to justify getting off to gymnastics, and says that it's better than actual adult materials because they are wearing something. I talked to him twice, and that hasn't done anything so far. I'm just trying to see what to do from here. Edit. When I talked to him and tried to explain how it made me feel, he reminded me of a past conversation where we talked about adult stuff, and he reminded me of how I said I was fine with its use, thus insinuating that gymnastics is like that by comparing it to that conversation. So when I tried to elaborate on my feelings, he just threw that at me and said I was overreacting. And I think there's a huge difference between adult materials compared to taking a sport out of context and using it as such. To which he said that getting off to gymnasts isn't as bad as adult movies because it's socially acceptable. When I tried to elaborate my feelings. When I asked him if he still gets off to gymnasts sometimes, he said that it didn't matter if he did. Because it is late and he is home, I'm going to call a therapist for myself tomorrow. And also my dad about going over to his place with my daughter since it's only been a day or so since the dinner, and she hasn't/won't be going to any sports as long as we're still here, which hopefully will be no longer than tomorrow. I just got scared and flustered when he yelled at me during our follow-up, and not having almost anyone to talk to besides posting here, because after Mom passed, Dad wanted space and wouldn't respond to me for some time. But I think tomorrow and enough calls will have him help, and if not, a hotel as soon as tomorrow. I also had some depression after Mom, as you might have seen in other comments. That prevented me from making friends after finally getting out of being bedridden. And that's not an excuse, but I just wanted to ask and post here before I left and ask for anything my rushing mind might overlook. Like, what if I leave and have no evidence of what he did besides my word against his, if it comes to a custody battle? Say if he deletes the stuff on his phone. But as soon as tomorrow, I'll reach out to Dad and get out. And now for the update. A few people said that I overreacted in my first post, and that I was accusing him of things wrongfully. So I want to try to explain myself. I made my first post because I wasn't close to my dad. Dad wanted space after Mom passed, and there would be times when he wouldn't return my calls, unless it was something urgent or every once in a while. He was depressed after she passed, and I didn't have many friends outside of my job because I cut myself off from a lot of people after she passed. My husband helped fill the void when he flew down, but I regret moving away from some friends. I was able to call my dad and text him beforehand that it was urgent, and we were able to talk about everything that happened. He was surprised to hear what my husband said, saying that he probably had an ulterior motive the entire time. That was the hidden kink, that he only felt comfortable addressing on our anniversary. He strongly disagreed with his comments about gymnastics, saying that his defensiveness/degrading around a topic wasn't normal or a good thing. Not to mention advocating for our daughter to do the sport that he considers adult material and gets off too. He said that we could come over at any time, but when I wrote my last post, I said I was against going into his phone because I figured it would look controlling. But he and others said that it was fine given the circumstances. But he's been rather protective of his phone since our conversation, and he also changed the password when he left it to charge and I tried to get in. He knew my password before I recently changed it. He also has a laptop that I tried to view on Saturday when he went out with some friends like he usually does, but I never knew the password and he wasn't gone that long. He also asked if he'd be willing to go to counseling together for the second time, but he said no and got upset like he's been ever since I declined his kink where he wanted me to wear an old gymnastics uniform for roleplay. I have no issue with that, but it hurts when he said that the funeral meant nothing when he was upset, and that I owed it to him after how he was there for me. But again, when I asked if he currently gets off to underage gymnasts, he just smirked and said, what does it matter? And that I'm being a hypocrite when I said I'm fine with adult stuff. It has also told his friends/parents that I'm withholding intimacy from him and being manipulative because I declined his kink. And when he told me that he wanted me to meet with his parents, I didn't want to. And he just yelled at me again. He rarely yells, but this hidden kink has showed a new side of him. I'm currently at my dad's with my daughter and we didn't tell him when we were leaving. I was also able to record some of his views on gymnastics and getting off stuff, but he got upset and called my job and told them that I left with our daughter and a bunch of lies, and it's all been really stressful lately. I'm afraid of losing my job. I haven't been back at work, PTO, because I'm worried he'll show up there as we've been gone for a few days. However, and this is unrelated, we have a mutual friend whose son, male 15, recently came out to her as bi. And she came over a few weeks ago to talk about how to bring it up to her husband when her son was afraid to tell him. And while that has nothing to do with the situation, my husband was home when she came over and was supportive, but now is threatening to out him to the dad who he's close with if I don't come back, That's why I didn't reach out to the wife for advice. And I don't know if she told the husband yet. I'm considering calling her to give her a heads up, but the last time we talked, she hadn't told him yet because he can be awful. Thus why the son came out to her. I'm already stressed with my job and explaining everything to my daughter while dad helps with a lawyer. Now that extra piece, and I just need advice on what to do. Not only for myself, but now also this friend who is brought into the equation to try and get us to come back. So he's a giant piece of trash, and is now using the neighbor's kid's sexuality as a weapon. Run. It's honestly like he's become a different person since refusing his kink that he said I owed him for helping me gain weight when I was bedridden after my mom passed and my doctor was concerned. Where's my dad's now? And I'm considering calling the kid's mom to give her a heads up and probably have to tell her what's going on to some extent on our end, which is what I'm going to do so that she isn't blindsided. Absolutely vile perspective and behavior. Do not feel guilty for leaving him. Would you want your daughter to be with a man like him? Absolutely not. I can't even believe that he involved her. Call her and tell her that you have no control over the situation so that she could take necessary steps. There's no indication your husband wants out the young lad anyway. This box is already open. Nothing else to do about it. That's what I'll tell her, and I'm honestly scared to have that conversation. But maybe opening up a little about what I'm going through can comfort her somewhat. Although it's hard to really open up about what my husband's been saying. Even to my dad, it was hard. I missed your first post, but how can anyone say you're overreacting? I would not be okay with my partner saying those things, especially with my daughter in the sport. As for your update, don't give in to him. You may never have another opportunity to leave. Call your friend to give her a warning. You also need to call your boss/HR. And while not give them the full story, explain you and your daughter are in the process of being separated/getting a divorce. Because you need to get one. This guy's nuts. Please contact a divorce attorney or a women's shelter. They can help provide support and resources. And start the process of getting this guy away from you and your daughter. Save and record any interactions with your husband in case you need the evidence. Dad's helping with a lawyer, and we're currently with him now. I just hate how he's using this boy's coming out to his mom as leverage against us, which is why I'm trying to find out how to tell her. Now for the last story. My 29 female boyfriend, 29 male of 2.5 years wants to pause our relationship to figure himself out. Am I being unfair if I say no? I'll try to keep this short. He's going through a stressful/transitionary period in his career and living situation, and is extremely unsure of what he wants to do with his life. He recently admitted that he thinks he needs a few months on his own to figure his life out. He wants to pause our relationship, which seems to mean that we remain an exclusive couple but don't actually date or really interact for that time. Then, once he figures his life out, we would begin dating again. The problem is, he also admitted he's not ready to commit to a future together yet, and may not be willing to compromise on his choices in order to maintain the relationship. He is considering decisions that would mean making a drastic life change, like moving abroad, which would mean breaking up. I really want to be supportive and give him the space he needs during this time. However, I really don't think I can be okay with staying together in this way, where we don't interact, and I'm stuck just waiting around to see if he actually wants to continue the relationship or not. I want to tell him that if he needs to be alone, he cannot simultaneously have me as a girlfriend. We would need to break up, with the possibility of getting back together if and when he is sure that's what he wants. I feel like I'd be the bad guy though if I told him as such, and I'm not being truly supportive. I'm having a hard time figuring out how to approach the situation. There is no pause button in relationships. Either they are in a relationship or out of it. Couples face changes and challenges together, not put a pause on it and go about things solo. That's not what being in a relationship is about. This is what I think I know deep down but needed to hear. Thank you. He doesn't get to make unilateral decisions about your relationship status. Tell him he's welcome to leave and you may or may not have moved on when he's ready to come back. This. He can leave, but he can't expect you to wait around. If/when he's ready to come back and you're single and want him back, then fine. But you shouldn't have to remain single indefinitely while he figures things out. Unfair to who? The most fair thing to you in this situation is to heal and move on. If he loved you and wanted to be with you, he would. He can stay or go, but it is completely unfair to make you sit around waiting on him like a dog. Yeah, I think this is the thing I know deep down, but was having a hard time coming to terms with. Thank you. No way. Sorry. Even from a guy's perspective, that's some BS. Either he's in a relationship or he's out. Don't let him put you on a bench while he figures stuff out. He can either figure things out with you or without you. And if it's without you and you aren't available by the time he does figure out that he wants you to be part of the picture, that's his loss. Yeah, I keep thinking of a scenario where I move on and then he does decide he wants to continue the relationship after all, and I say no. Right now, I can't help but feel some amount of guilt in that scenario. But having this perspective helps. Update. My 29 male soon-to-be ex-husband seems to feel entitled to another chance with me, 28 female. Original story. My husband and I have been together almost 8 years, married for 2.5 of those. Last May, 2019, we separated seemingly overnight. He left me and our toddler and moved back to his hometown. There was never a solid reason given, just that he felt we should have never have gotten married. In July, he changed his tune and wanted to be a family again. He was still at his job at his hometown, so I decided I would ride it out at my job at a different city for a couple of months to build my resume, and then start looking for other jobs at his hometown. After 6 months of a brutal commute, taking care of our child during the week by myself, and driving to his hometown every weekend, interviewing, basically bending over backwards, I finally landed a great job in December. A week before I was to move into the new house we were buying together and start my new job, I found out he had been having an affair. He begged and pleaded for me to stay with him, said to break off all contact, and I foolishly agreed to give him another chance. 2 days later, while I was back in a different city and completing my last week of work at my old job, he unblocked her and everything, and liked her pictures on Instagram. I was devastated. On top of that crap show, he kicked me out of the house we were supposed to move in together, but I had to find a new place to live 2 days before starting my new position. We have lived separately ever since. He has said and done so many hateful things in this time period, and said so many times that he wants a divorce that I've lost count. Up until a month ago, he was still maintaining contact with her. I saw her car at his house, took pictures for the lawyers, etc., and he admitted he had been talking with her still. I stopped doing the pick-me dance about a month ago, and stopped reaching out to him besides contact about our child. Now, he has suddenly changed his tune, and is desperate to get me back and will do anything. He hasn't followed her and everything, and liked all her pictures, tells me not to give up on our family. But I've moved on. I'm not interested in pursuing another relationship with him. He's hurt me deeply, and I feel like I've been screwed over by him so many times that I've lost count. How can I tell him there isn't a chance without sounding like a completely heartless person? I still want to be able to maintain a strong co-parenting relationship with him, so I am friendly to him, but he seems to take that as I want him back. I have relayed to him my feelings, but they fall on deaf ears. He says he will never stop trying to get our family back together and does not want a divorce. I do. Does anyone have advice? Now for the top advice before reading the updates. You are not heartless for being direct about your feelings. And even if you were, why would you be so careful about his feelings when he cares so little for yours? You need a lawyer to come up with a custody agreement. You do not need to be friendly with him to co-parent effectively. You just need to be cordial and not disparage him in front of your child. If OP is heartless, it's only because ex-husband smashed it over and over and over again. He only has himself to blame. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I needed to hear that. My ex feels entitled to a relationship with me. Filed under how awesome for him. See also, no is a complete answer. You're concerned about appearing like a heartless person to someone who not only acted heartlessly to you, but abandoned your child. Stop giving consideration and concern to people who've gone out of their way to give you neither. Here's what you tell him. Trust is one of the most important aspects of a relationship, and you have destroyed my ability to ever trust you. There can be no more chances because there is no more trust. If you want to prove yourself trustworthy, do it by being a good father and prove it to your child. Because the only future relationship we have is co-parents. Thank you so much for this. I need nothing but brutal honesty right now. How can I tell him there isn't a chance without sounding like a completely heartless person? Why does it matter to you if his feelings are hurt by how you phrase this? You gave him multiple chances. It is proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that he can never be trusted again. Some part of him understands this. Just be firm about what you have to say, and don't engage him if he asks you for another chance. No is a complete sentence. You're totally right. I guess my biggest thing is I know how awful it feels to be heartbroken, and I hate thinking that I'm the reason someone feels that way. He absolutely does not deserve my empathy, but for some reason I still feel like I have to be considerate. It makes no sense. Edited to add, just to show the kind of person he is, when he asked him about the reason for his sudden change of heart, he said it was because I seemed stronger. Ah, the irony. Honestly, a big thank you to the prick for yanking the rug under my feet not once, but twice, because I truly have realized how much better I can do, and how I don't need anyone but myself to have a happy life. Seriously, thank you to everyone who has read my story and commented. You have no idea how much it's helping me to focus on myself, and realize I need to stop considering the feelings of someone who had no consideration of mine. I only hope that anyone who is in a similar situation realizes that you can and you do move on. And I promise that you will feel like a 10,000-pound weight has been lifted off your back. He is being served papers in the next 1 to 2 weeks. Guarantee the I've changed mask slips off. I hope I'm wrong, but I've learned all too well that my gut feelings are usually spot on. Hopefully I'll be back with an update in a few months with the good news that the split is official. And now for the update. Well, turns out my gut instincts were right. The entire time he was begging for another chance and promising this time would be different, eye roll, he was still sleeping with the affair partner and telling her he loved her and would do anything to make it work with her. It didn't even hurt me to find it out. I was that unsurprised. Just helped me stop feeling guilty. So I divorced him. I thank the universe every day that he is no longer connected to me in a romantic way. It feels like an enormous weight has been lifted off my shoulders. Shortly after my original post, I met someone by chance at a wedding and fell in love. This person is everything my ex-husband was not. The kindness, compassion, and respect they show not just me but to my daughter as well is like something from a dream. I never knew love could be so easy. To anyone in a loveless marriage reading this, leave. Do the hard thing. Especially if they have a pattern of leaving, /returning, /cheating, etc. Lord knows I was terrified to cut the cord. At one point in time, I was actually starting to feel bad for the guy because he was begging me every single day for another chance. He tried to convince me that getting a divorce would ruin my future, our daughter's future, that she would come from a broken family. But it was the exact opposite. It was broken already, and I've fixed it. Once I made up my mind that divorce was the best option, I absolutely thrived. I learned independence. I found how to be happy on my own. I found happiness in a partner. Life has never been so sweet. The bad stuff makes the good things so much better. Thank you, Reddit, for the support on my original post. It helped turn my graveyard into a garden. It was already broken, and I've fixed it. Gold. What a perfect way to say it. My husband feels he's entitled to another chance with me. Narrator, he isn't. Snowball on top of that, no one is. Let me guess. When he found out you found someone else, he started freaking out and saying you were breaking the family? I had a friend like this. He cheated constantly and then she found someone else. Suddenly, he was the victim crying to the friend group. He is not a friend anymore. He had a massive freak out when he found out I was seeing someone else. The irony is unreal. You probably won't read this, but this is exactly what I needed to hear at this exact moment in my life. I'm going through the same thing. Trying to leave but suffering the guilt and hearing his begging every day. But I already put down the deposit on my new place. I already bought my plane ticket. Just 3 more weeks and I'm free. I've been doubting myself more than ever as the time approaches. So like I said, I really needed this. Thanks. I'm reading everyone's comments. Don't let anyone guilt you into doing what you feel is right. Had it coming from all sides. Him, his family, his friends. You don't owe anyone your love. You're going to be so much better off. I promise. I'm rooting for you. Last story is titled, Update. Is it worth it to try to work things out with my boyfriend who is jealous of my stepbrother? Original story. My boyfriend, 19 male and I, 19 female, have been dating for just over a year. We're both in university and currently taking online classes due to the lockdown. When they announced the transition to online classes, I decided to move back to my mom's, about an hour and a half away. My town is a bit of a student town. There aren't many grocery delivery services and I don't drive. I didn't want to rely on the reduced bus service. My boyfriend tried to convince me to move in with him, but I refused because I didn't like the idea of being an illegal tenant in a house with 4 guys and 1 bathroom. My boyfriend was not happy with us. I've been back for 3 weeks, and things have been tense, especially surrounding my stepbrother, 22 male. My mom remarried when I was 15, and she moved her new husband at a son in. I've known stepbrother for 5 years, and our relationship was always friendly but distant. He's lived at home the entire time and worked as a bartender prior to the quarantine. Ever since I moved back, boyfriend has been on my case about spending too much time with stepbrother. He gets really upset because we drive around aimlessly every day. I'm on a learner's permit, and stepbrother is helping me practice while the streets are empty, and the fact that we hang out and watch stuff together. The weather was nice this week, and stepbrother and I decided to eat our lunches in the backyard, picnic style. Boyfriend freaked out when he realized, accused me of going on quarantine dates behind his back. I didn't even tell him this. I guess he stalked stepbrother's Instagram story. And it wasn't a date. We're going into 5 weeks of quarantine. Bored out of our minds and doing anything possible for a slight change of pace. Boyfriend called me yesterday and told me that he was unhappy, felt disrespected, and that I needed to make a change to keep the relationship. He told me that stepbrother and I are not like regular siblings. We didn't grow up together, and so he's afraid things will escalate between us. I think this is gross. Stepbrother is not someone I would ever consider dating, but I'm certain he feels the same. Boyfriend told me that I would need to stop hanging out with stepbrother and spend more time FaceTiming and texting. Currently, we FaceTime every day, minimum 1 hour, but he said his ideal would be 3 to 4 hours. I think this is crazy, and part of me wants to tell him to shove it. But we had a great relationship before this, and another part of me wants to fight and save it. I know my boyfriend, and I'm fairly sure he is acting like this because he's still upset that I didn't move in with him. But it's going on week 4, and I'm not sure how much more I can handle. What should I do? Now for the top advice before reading the update. FaceTiming for 3 to 4 hours a day? That's a part-time job. That's completely unreasonable. Your boyfriend sounds exhausting. It seems like he thinks your job is to constantly pander to his insecurities. In my experience, you can't reason with someone who is this jealous and controlling. They either learn their lesson after they've been dumped a few times and mature a little, or they just never get better. You don't have some kind of duty to teach him to be a mature and trusting partner, if that's what you're asking. You never need a reason to break up with someone. Thank you. This resonated with me, especially about not having to teach him to be a normal boyfriend. Dude, you're finally seeing who your boyfriend really is. He wanted you to live with him so he could monitor you. I didn't even consider this, but you might be right. When we've thought about this, he has alluded to feeling like the situation was out of his control. If you really feel like your boyfriend is a good dude and there are no other red flags for you, put him in his place over this. Be firm and clear. I was clear on why I did not want to move in with you. I do not want to live with 4 men, let alone with 1 bathroom. That topic is done with. It should no longer be an issue. Regarding my stepbrother, your reaction to him is inappropriate. He may not be blood related, but he is my sibling. I do not appreciate you implying inappropriate things about our relationship. I will continue to spend time with my stepbrother, especially while in quarantine. And you need to accept that our relationship is familial, as it should be. I personally feel that his demand that you need to spend 3 to 4 hours a day FaceTiming is excessive. You are separate people and have separate lives, and that is okay. You should be able to go a day or 2 without contact every once in a while, especially in a healthy, trusting relationship. People need space on occasion, even from those they love. Just because it's quarantine and we're all comparatively unoccupied, doesn't mean you need to be available all the time. I personally feel a lot of his behavior is unacceptable, but you have a wider context to your relationship and him as a person. He may just need to be forced to confront his negative behavior/thought processes that could be more prevalent during the weird time that is quarantine. Thank you. We're all on edge and stressed, so I'm sure this is exacerbated by the current situation. I think I'll essentially copy and paste what you've written. It's exactly what I want to communicate and to the point. And now for the update. After I posted, I took some time to read the comments and form a plan. I texted boyfriend telling him essentially that I needed a bit of space to take a breather and reevaluate. I made it clear that I didn't want to break up, but felt like I was always being monitored, and I wanted to make a game plan to have healthy communication through this pandemic. He called me super upset and accused me of choosing stepbrother over him. I told him that it wasn't about stepbrother. It's not like I chose stepbrother. He's literally just someone I get along with who I can hang out with during the pandemic. I explained to him that it was not like I was spending every waking moment with him. I do my homework in the morning. We hang out in the afternoon, and my evening time is divided between the four of us. Mom, stepdad, stepbrother, and FaceTiming boyfriend. Boyfriend that accused me of doing special boyfriend activities with stepbrother. He told me that it was always his dream to teach me to drive. He doesn't even have his permit. Am I supposed to wait around for him to get it? Also, apparently me teaching stepbrother how to bake bread, which is stupid because I was going to make the bread to begin with. And stepbrother helped by moving the heavy mixer, eating half the almond slices, and taking pictures for Instagram. He also screamed at me for not moving in, saying how all this would have been prevented if we were living together. I told him that I have no interest in living somewhere that I'm not allowed to be. I can't afford a fine from by law, and if I were to get kicked out, it would be more difficult to find my way home since I don't drive. In the end, I told boyfriend that I would not give up my relationship with stepbrother, who is part of my family and a genuinely nice guy, to ease my boyfriend's insecurities and cater to his demands. I told boyfriend that I needed to cool down and that I'd talk to him in a few days. That was all on Friday, and today I reached out to see how he was. He was still pissed at me and accusatory, so I basically told him that this wasn't working. I don't want to break up. I did it over text and then blocked him, which probably makes me an a-hole. But I literally couldn't deal with any more of him yelling at me and insulting my family. In a way, thanks to everyone who commented. I'm really sad this is the outcome and I've been crying a lot, but I'm also kind of relieved. Good call. Your gut led you on this one. The sort of behavior would have found its way to something else, if you choose to dismiss it. Sounds like some real LDA, though. OMG, this is awesome. Good for you, girl. It's such a burden dealing with someone who is jealous and insecure. It's refreshing when you don't deal with them anymore. I can't believe her boyfriend chose to be such a massive knob wobble about this. I'd die to have a cool friend to hang out with right now. Awesome job. You definitely made a right move here. It might be hard, but he has so much growing up to do if he ever wants to be in a relationship. And I just mean in general. I'm definitely not advocating you wait around for him. You deserve better. The fact that he screamed at you is a huge red flag. I would have serious reservations in moving forward with this boy. He feels threatened by your family for no apparent reason, and him being possessive and wanting you to move in is a classic controller move. Update. My life has imploded. Husband 29 male slept with my mom 55 female right before we got married 2 years ago. Original post. He confessed it to me yesterday out of guilt. The details are that he was extremely drunk on his bachelor party nights, which I knew had happened. He doesn't drink often and overdid it. Said the next morning that he didn't remember anything after a certain point. I thought nothing of it. Looking back, I can see how he was acting pretty off, which I assumed at the time was wedding jitters. Now he's told me he did remember coming home that night, which was when my mom, staying with us that week for the wedding, came on to him. He went along with it to the point of ending up hooking up with her in her bed. In fact, he passed out on her bed and was there the whole night. My bachelorette party was the same night, and I came home around 3 a.m. to see he wasn't in our bed. I texted him but assumed he had crashed with a friend, as he'd said he might do that if things got crazy. But he was actually with my mother, right in the room next freaking door. The next morning, he quietly slipped out while I was still asleep, then opened the door pretending he'd just come home after sleeping off the drunkenness at his friend's. He got into bed with me and told me that lie. As if that wasn't enough, he also initiated intimacy soon after, when he had been banging my mother mere hours before. We got married the very next day. Damn everything. I literally cannot believe this. My mother has a history of trying to flirt with guys I've dated and being inappropriate. Not this bad, but still. My husband knew this. We laughed about it, and he reassured me he would never in a million years think she was attractive. I called her last night. Just said, husband told me everything. She spent several minutes pretending not to know what I was talking about, then denying everything and saying he was making it up, then claiming she'd woken up to my husband forcing himself on her. The sheer audacity of the BS she's capable of is beyond any disgust I can properly convey. I eventually just ended a call. I could not stop crying. She refused to even admit the truth, let alone take any responsibility or apologize. I'm not even worth basic honesty in my own mother's eyes. I'm not even worth a half-baked I'm sorry to her. The person is supposed to love you no matter what. And does she also think I'm stupid? Why keep lying to someone who knows you're lying, unless you actually think they'd fall for your crap? Today I can't cry at all. Everything feels unreal. I'm completely lost and almost feel like I dreamed this or something. I've lost the two most important people in my life because they decided that I wasn't as important to them as having a quick hookup. Well, I hope it was the best 10 minutes of their lives. And sure, maybe my husband didn't come home that night with a planned intention of sleeping with her. He probably didn't, and it was just horrible judgment from over-drinking. That doesn't change the fact he and my mom had done it. No one should be able to say that about their spouse. How's that normal? I cannot imagine remaining in a marriage where my spouse has banged my mom, literally 2 nights before our wedding. There's simply no coming back from that, right? No, I will never get over or forgive it. I feel absolutely revolted that for the last 2 years, they've been at family visits together acting more or less normal, with me right there like a stupid clueless fool. There's probably much more I'm forgetting, but maybe it doesn't even matter. I'm just done. My life is gone and I have no idea where I will be next week, let alone next year. We were going to be together for the rest of our lives. Now it's gone. Just like that, I have nothing. What can I do now? How do I possibly explain to the rest of my family why we're divorcing? I am so freaking humiliated. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Okay, so if your mother were telling the truth about him forcing himself on her, why would she be okay with her daughter marrying an offender? My brain cannot compute the awfulness of it all. You deserve better than both of them. Don't be embarrassed. They should both be ashamed, especially your mother. Either the mom's an offender or the husband is. With all the details provided here, it sounds like the mom is. But of course, so many think he's a cheating scumbag. She took advantage of him being drunk. Mom has a history flirting and being inappropriate with Opie's past boyfriends. That's true. The mother absolutely did force herself on him. But instead of telling his wife everything as soon as he realized it happened, he chose not to. He kept up the lie by mission for 2 years. He's not innocent either. Tell everyone the truth. Burn them down. She's got to get ahead of this before the mom pulls some BS and tries to paint herself as the victim. Opie needs to cut all contact with her awful mother, and she needs to tell her family the whole story so they don't try and force her to reconnect. Opie, I'm so sorry. First of all, you don't have to explain to the family if you don't want to. You could say something like it's not working out and we have decided to separate and are not comfortable discussing more. On the other hand, you could just say the truth because if your mom has decided to lie and accuse her husband of raping her, when she knows that is not the truth mainly due to the fact that she has done that in the past, she could very well lie about why you stopped talking to her, paint you in a bad light, which brings me to my next point. I think you should cut contact with your mother, at least for now. I know the truth epically sucks, but other people should be warned about this, especially if Opie has other siblings. Either the mom or the soon-to-be ex-husband is an offender. If this isn't aired out, it could happen again to someone else. And now for the update. My actual update will be brief, but I first want to thoroughly address what you guys said on my first post. I read every single comment. I guess skip to the bottom if you just want to know the update. Most of you were pointing out that it sounded like my husband was too drunk to consent, meaning she violated him. When I spoke to him again after reading all of that, I asked him carefully if he felt that she took advantage of his drunkenness. There was a long pause. He sighed and gave me this look that was just full of guilt and sadness, and then basically said no, that it would be easy to go with the out I was giving him, but that I deserved the full truth. He then proceeded to tell me that before that night, they had been ex-thing for several months. He had not told me this the first time he confessed. He went on to tell me more, explaining that he left this out because the biggest issue was the actual cheating, and he hadn't wanted to hurt me by giving all the lead-up details. He only gave them this time out of some remaining sense of honor, I guess. He said it'd be even more of a coward if he misleads me to think it was without consent. So I guess he's not as much of a liar as he could be. Don't know how to feel about that. Anyway, they had been exting, including exchanging nudes, for a few months before the wedding. Now, I had known they texted sometimes. They always had a friendly relationship. I hadn't ever suspected anything weird. Like I said in the first post, he'd been adamant that he'd never think of her that way. I trusted him. He can't explain why they started texting beyond he got caught up in the thrill of doing something forbidden. There were implications made about wanting to do things in real life as a one-night thing, should the opportunity even arise. Disgusting. So fast forward to our bachelor/bachelorette party's night. The texting between him and her was going on while he was out that night. So what I said in my first post about how he probably didn't come home intending to sleep with her, yep, that was wrong. He did. In fact, him telling me he was going to stay overnight with his friend if he got too drunk was all part of the setup. He knew I'd be out very late at a show. He had the presence of mind to arrange a way to leave his party earlier in the night, go home, sleep with my mother, and already have given me a plausible explanation for appearing not to be home when he got back at 3 a.m., so that he could spend that one night with her. It was just that important to him to have the full experience of falling asleep after the deed and waking up next to each other. He reiterated that he had been aware the whole time of what he was doing. He was not as drunk as he'd made it seem the next morning when he claimed not to remember anything that happened. I think that tripped people up in my first post into thinking he was incapacitated. I thought I'd been clear that he had admitted during his first confession that it was an act he put on to me at the time to cover up his cheating, which he then explained he actually had remembered everything the next morning. So just to be clear again, while he did get drunk, at no point did he black out or become totally wasted to the point he was incapable of controlling his decisions and body. He doesn't know if she was drunk too or relatively sober. She had mentioned she was drinking when he was out at his party, but he doesn't know how much. He said since that night, he hadn't texted her at all except about logistical details of visits, and one text he sent her the day after. In that one, he said it would never happen again, and she'd lose me if I knew, correct, so she better never let it slip. She agreed. He claims everything between them since then has been a normal mother-in-law relationship. Do I believe that? Doesn't matter. He lied for 2 years and then lied by omission in his first confession about the months-long build-up to the affair. During that time, I was bonding with my mother over wedding planning. She even brought me dress shopping. It's freaking sick. I'd be misplaced to not acknowledge his integrity around the R thing. He told me it'd be easy to run with that in order to keep me, and said if that's how it happened, I would stay with him. But that had already betrayed me. He wouldn't be able to live with himself if he made a false claim about something so serious instead of taking responsibility. Well, that is the only part I respect him for. As for my mom, nothing. Not a word from her since this weekend. Fine by me. I never want to see or hear from her again. It's almost like she died. I don't have a mother anymore. Some of you ask about my father. He died of health issues in 2010, and my mom had a revolving door of men when I was a teen, but no real relationships. So I don't have a dad or a stepdad either. I'm also an only child. I have friends and some other family, but just did not have the energy yet to tell them about any of this. Last thing, some people thought my post was made up because I hadn't replied to any comments. That was because I was so exhausted I just passed out right after posting it. When I woke up, it was locked and I couldn't reply. And now for the actual update. I'm proceeding with divorce and have gotten in touch with an attorney. I've kicked him out of the house and I think has gone to his parents for the time being. Not looking forward to a legal battle whatsoever, but there's no possible way to remain married after this mess. To this day, he doesn't know why he did it. I have my own suspicions based on things he said in the past about wishing he'd had more romantic partners before me, because he felt like he had missed out on his youth. Maybe that was my clue that it wasn't enough for him. Should have listened, but let him and some friends talk me to believing I must be, or he wouldn't be with me. And that all guys have regrets like that and sacrifice them for the right woman. Clearly that wasn't me. He also struggles with overuse of adult movies sometimes. Stepmom is his favorite genre. It never struck me as anything other than a dumb porn thing. Whatever. I won't be dating for a long time because obviously I'm colorblind to red flags. Whoa. That's completely messed up. So sorry you have to deal with all this. It is messed up. To this day, he doesn't know why he did it. That's a lie. He planned it out in detail. He knows why he did it even if he won't admit it. Also, I seriously doubt he admitted to this out of guilt. He just wants out of the marriage and this was the easiest way to get that. I wouldn't be surprised if he is fooling around behind her back with someone. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if he is lying about cutting off the mom. I've had friends that did crazy stuff for their bachelor party. Normal crazy stuff like strippers, hookers, and blow. And if some of it came out, it might end their marriage. Decades later, no one has ever said a word. It happened, it's not happening ever again. Code of silence. I don't blame anyone for thinking that sort of thing is stupid and crappy. But at the same time, to me, it's worse to go years into a marriage with someone and then admit to something like that to assuage your own guilt. Own that guilt and live with the shame. Be a better person if you really want to do right by your partner. This guilt thing is just an excuse to bail. I'd be misplaced to not acknowledge his integrity around the thing. He told me it'd be easy to run with that in order to keep me. I said if that's how it happened, I would stay with him, but that he'd already betrayed me. He wouldn't be able to live with himself if he made a false accusation about something so serious instead of taking responsibility. Well, that is the only part I respect him for. Also, don't fall for this, OP. He wants out. That's the reason why he isn't playing this angle. If you had caught him and he wanted to stay, he would throw mom under the bus, no problem. This is just a way for him to keep some sort of control over you. Make you think he isn't as bad as he seems. He is that bad. Take him to the cleaners in the divorce. No holds barred. Oh God. Please don't try to normalize being able to do things like that, knowing it'll ruin the relationship if it came out, then keeping it a secret. If they don't want their partners knowing it, then they shouldn't be doing it. I'm proceeding with divorce and have gotten in touch with an attorney. I've kicked him out of the house. Good. Yes. Affirm. Absolutely yes. Cut these people out of your life like the cancerous tumors they are and go no contact forever. My God. Invest in you. Please get therapy for the trauma that has been inflicted on you by this terrible betrayal. He is a POS, and your mom is no mother. She's a trashy female bi parent, nothing more. Unbelievable to do this to your own daughter. Strength and healing to you, OP. Thank you. Finding someone for therapy is on my to-do list before the end of the week. Excellent. A good therapist with expertise in trauma recovery can really help. I'm really sorry for you. You're making the right decision. I'm sending you a lot of strength and a big hug. Thank you. I appreciate the affirmation. It's really hard. Don't hesitate to use the "I'll tell everyone what you did" to your advantage in divorce proceedings. How disgusting. Now for the last story. Apparently my husband's family thinks I miscarried on purpose. I, 24 female, husband 30 male, lost my baby last week. And now I also have to worry about the fact that my husband's family thinks I did it on purpose. A little bit of backstory. I've been in the US for 5 years, but I'm not from here. Different skin color, foreign accent. I'm not a daughter/sister-in-law they expected, which his mom and sister have voiced before. In front of me. Hubby told them to stop and things got somewhat better, although his sister still makes weird comments at times. She invited us over to her place and then had the nerve to say in front of everybody that my miscarriage is not that big of a deal since I did it on purpose, and that it's not like I wanted a baby anyway, which is not true. I said to her once during our first year of being married that I felt that we didn't need to rush into getting pregnant, and she took it and turned it into me not wanting babies. And now over a year later she threw that in my face. When hubby tried to tell her to stop, but his mom joined in and said that his sister was right, that I probably did it on purpose. Like what? My husband stood up for me, and when he realized his mom was in on it too, he grabbed me and we left, which I'm grateful for, but he now wants me to let them come over and apologize. But I never want to see them again. I know that's unrealistic though, so how do I look at them, have them at my house, without wanting to throw something in their faces and tell them how I really feel? Mother-in-law and sister-in-law are definitely terrible people. Their apology will not come from their heart, but from the tongue just to save face with your husband. Keep these people at a distance from now on. I want to never see them again. Unfortunately, there is family, and I know that he wants us to just get along or at least be civil. I'd been civil this whole time though. I don't think I've ever done anything to deserve this. Sure, you can be civil and at the same time keep your distance, so they don't have another opportunity to hurt you with cruel words. So sorry for your miscarriage, and to think the words came from women. They sounded really sorry for us when his sister invited us to come over and have supper to take our minds off the situation. I fell for it like a dummy. I'm so stupid for thinking they would be capable of feeling bad for me and help me grieve. Just tell him you aren't ready to see them to hear an apology and you'll let him know when you are. I have. He's convinced that we should get it all settled as soon as possible because we're a family, but it's so obvious they don't see me as a part of their family.